This is Death in Ice Valley, an original podcast series from the BBC World Service and NRK.
Even 47 years on, many witnesses have a vivid recollection of the Isdal woman and how old she looked. But looks can be deceiving.
Your age is written in your teeth.
I'm Neil McCarthy.
And I'm Marit Tigraf. This is episode 8, Case Closed.
Last time, former KGB officer Alexander Vasilyev gave us his courier theory, which sounds like it could fit. The Isdal woman didn't hang around in one place for long or try to blend in like a spy. She came and went between European cities, and she had meetings with different men, including a naval officer. She could have been a messenger for a spy organisation. It's plausible.
There is no evidence for her being part of a Norwegian espionage ring, but it's an interesting speculation from somebody with first-hand knowledge of the secret world of spies. Let's return to the science for a while to help us with this case. It will keep things in Scandinavia.
It's a cold night in Stockholm. We're in the Swedish capital, and we're in the company of Harald, who's joined us from Norway. Could you introduce him properly?
Yes, Harald Skjønsfjell from Kripos is with us. He is now the leader of the identity unit at Kripos, and he is here bringing through 3 teeth of the Isdal woman. Harald.
Yes, that's correct. I have 3 teeth with me to give to the scientists here in Karolinska Institute to try to find out how old was the Isdal woman when she died in Norway in 1970.
The very, very exciting thing, and the reason for us to be here is that these scientists here in Karolinska, they said hello themselves and said, we have a method. We believe we can define the age of the woman exact by looking at her teeth with the carbon-14 method, where they look at the level of carbon-14 in her teeth, and then they can say something about her age or exact birth year.
And have you used carbon analysis effectively in any other missing persons cases?
No, we haven't done that before, so this is new for us.
And Harald, you deal with missing persons cases all the time. What do you make of the Isdal woman's case?
Well, I am a police officer, so I have to stick to the objective facts. So it's a very interesting case. It's very special because there is not many people who are found in the forest burned in Norway. And if it's a suicide, it's a very special way to do it. I don't think we have any similar case. So it's for sure, this is a very special case.
Let's take a night's sleep and let's see tomorrow what the scientists can do.
Got the teeth in a very safe place?
Yes, I will not tell you.
Not under your pillow, I hope.
We're not very far from it.
Harald Skjønsfjell has brought the Isdal woman's teeth to the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm, where professors Kanar Alkas and Henrik Druid toil away in a lab full of scientific cutting instruments. The walls are covered in marble. It used to be the hospital mortuary.
Hi Harald, welcome
Thank
to the
you.
forensic. Here, I will show you the lab. I hope you have the teeth with you.
I have the teeth with me.
So we have the lab here to the left side. And I will show you how we're going to prepare the teeth, and hopefully we can help you with this case. And here I have my colleague, Henrik Druid, professor at Karolinska.
Hello. Harald.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And thank you for taking this case for us. It's very important. I have the teeth in my bag. It's packed in an envelope. So here it is.
Thank you. And you have those 3 teeth we asked for.
Yes.
And we check this. This is the wisdom tooth, which is very
So
important.
you have 3
Yeah.
tooths.
And we have even here another tooth, and here is 3 teeth. Thank you very much.
I hope this will help you. So what are you exactly going to do now?
We can say that your age is written on your tooth. So by analyzing these teeth, we hope we can help the police in Norway by telling the age of the woman, the age of death.
One of the method that is so powerful is analyzing carbon-14, which is an isotope of carbon. Carbon-14 is known to be radioactive and has been used in archaeological studies all over the world. And we are doing the same kind of analysis, but we are taking advantage of the increased levels of carbon-14 that started to occur in 1955 due to extensive test bomb detonations of nuclear weapons from 1955 through 1963. And that was just a side effect. All that increased carbon-14 has been incorporated in our bodies ever since. And the teeth, they are formed at a certain time after the person is born. And then by looking at the carbon-14 levels in a particular tooth, we can match that with the particular levels in the atmosphere at that time.
I'm not scientific at all, but I think I get this. The carbon-14 levels in the atmosphere went up during the period of the open-air nuclear tests. So if a tooth was formed after the testing had started, it will contain varying levels of C14. We think the Isdal woman was born in the early 1940s, according to all her hotel registration cards, which contained a lot of false information, we know, but we're assuming the year of birth she wrote down was probably close to the truth. So most of her teeth would have been developed by the time the nuclear tests started.
That's why they wanted to analyze the wisdom tooth. That tooth is formed in late childhood, so if she was born in the early 40s, that tooth should contain an amount of C14 relating to a specific year. But they're going to do a separate analysis on the teeth, something called racemization.
It's a chemical process. There it's an amino acid who with time convert to its mirror, and then you count or calculate the quote of this amino acid. And by these numbers you can hopefully get the age of death.
I don't really follow this one so well. You can date a tooth backwards using amino acids?
Yes, my understanding is that by chemical analysis of the dentin in the tooth, the scientists can calculate how old a person was when she died. But this method is slightly less accurate than the carbon-14 method.
White lab coat on, Kanar Alkas gets to work slicing one of the teeth in two.
You never know what she'll find. Perhaps there will be some wisdom in this tooth after all.
Now I'm cutting the tooth. I do lingually section through the whole tooth.
Is that like a cross-section?
Exactly.
It's a very slow saw, the rotating saw.
Yeah, in the beginning I do it very slow, so until it comes through the tooth. Then I can increase the speed.
Everything will help us in the search for her relatives.
It will help us to know when she was born, and it will decrease the number of people we are looking for. So hopefully it will help us to get closer to her relatives.
Back to a human level, not the scientific, but and you might have a view on this, Harold, is that when you look at the registration cards that the Isdal woman filled in under different names, with different details and different information and identities, one thing that seemed to be quite common was the date of birth. Not the exact date of birth, but the year of birth. It was often 1942, 1943. There wasn't too much variation there. You never know. Maybe that is just one thing that, amongst all the other false information, that was something that was her own true year of birth.
Yeah, some say if you lie a lot or use a lot of false information, you always have to stick to some truth. So maybe she did. Maybe she was actually born 1942, 43, around that.
If you are going to prepare as another ID, you have to look like the same age. So it's natural that you use this almost the same age that you are in real life. But we will see, maybe we can get a more closely answer on that question after this.
If you start lying once, it's easier to stick to that also.
Yeah. You have to remember all your lies.
Yeah, exactly. This is the difficult part.
Okay, and how long will it take to get this result?
We hopefully the carbon dating take maybe 3 weeks, and the randomization, the amino acid analysis, will be done by end of this month, hopefully.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks.
We're at the airport now and we're about to go our separate ways, you to Oslo, me back to London, and obviously now they run our passports through computers and all the details come up, but back in 1970 would have been very different. Now, in fact, who knows if she was travelling with different passports, would have just checked the photo, I suppose, against her as she walked through, and I wonder how she selected which identity she was going to come into the country with. What was her criteria? Who did she want to be at different times?
Yeah, that's the question. Did she have a pattern, or was she sent by someone with special identity for special tasks? We don't know.
So we wait for results.
We're waiting for our plane back home. We're waiting for results. If they really succeed in finding a more accurate age and birth year, it will be very valuable for us when we want to research more into where we think she most likely grew up.
Let's head for the first time to our Isdal headquarters at NRK in Oslo, with your colleagues Ståle Hansen and Øyvind Biaskile, also experts on the case, in front of a very orderly, very Scandinavian crime board full of post-its, and also an illustration of the Isdal woman in the middle.
Well, this is a timeline of the Isdal case, which is based on the police investigation documents, where we have actually put up yellow notes for each day, what happened each day, because it's an enormous amount of information, and you need to get a system on it to understand how the case moved, and then it's very useful to use this chronological type of timeline. So if our heads are too full of information, we can walk over here and try to get a system of it all.
So what have we got here?
Back at the time when police were looking into the case, they started it as like a big murder investigation, and they got together all their best investigators, the experienced ones, and they investigated for some weeks. But just before Christmas in 1970, they somehow seems to have concluded it's a suicide. And there was a big press conference, and after the press conference, the newspapers wrote that the police thought it was a suicide. And we have a small recording from that press conference made by the NRK at the time, telling the story. And at the time there had been quite a bit of speculation in the media, so the press conference was sort of an answer to it.
It's black and white TV footage showing a room full of men in suits smoking cigarettes, some of them taking notes. Oscar Hordnes, one of Bergen's police chiefs, is speaking.
And he tells about the investigation leads so far in the investigation, the autopsy saying about tablets being found in her stomach at the autopsy, and that they had different identities, not real identities. And that it's clear she's been in Norway for quite some time, traveling around. But they don't know why. Why is she traveling around?
Someone's asking a question.
He's asking, was she a spy? And the police boss says, no, I think I can certainly say there's no leads leading to her being a spy. And that's very strange for us today, because we know today the secret police was actually investigating that at the time.
So this press conference closing down the investigation came just 3 weeks after the body was found. And it was a large-scale international affair, so why was it closed so abruptly? And how could they be so sure after such a short investigation that she wasn't a spy and that it wasn't a murder?
I really don't understand that, partly because they didn't give out any information to back that up. It's even harder to understand when we know that on the same day that this press conference took place in Bergen with the local police, the secret police wrote a document about the woman being spotted near the penguin missile tests by a fisherman.
And the day after that, the 23rd of December, according to his son, the police came to interrogate the fisherman at the train station in Stavanger and gave him weapons to protect himself. At that time, the newspaper journalist Knut Håvik was writing about the Isdal's story from Oslo. He had excellent police contacts, but for some reason, information wasn't being passed on in the usual way.
So it seems like the investigation was shut down more or less before Christmas in 1970 already. All the police officers, they went home celebrating Christmas in Oslo again. Yeah. And they had this press conference denying she wasn't a spy and it was suicide, they said.
I can ensure the press that this is not a spy case and it's not a murder case. And yeah.
Do you remember your reaction then?
I think it was his master's voice.
Do you think?
Had been ordered to say so, I believe, because it was so much international interest in this case, and it could be maybe one of the Norwegian spies in Russia could be caught, and it was spies on both sides of the Iron Curtain.
Ordered by who, do you think?
I think the secret police or the Ministry of Justice.
So it was obvious for you and that it was something wrong here.
Why all this secrecy? Because in other similar cases, the police said that the press is the best detective of all. Mm-hmm. Why didn't we get any more? It was a cover-up, I think.
With this in mind, Vasiliev's theory of the Isdal woman being part of a Norwegian espionage network gone wrong isn't perhaps so far-fetched.
Yes, and Håvik had his suspicions heightened when he looked into the police documents on the case.
Some documents has disappeared, and I got all the documents because from the police, from the chief commissioner in Oslo. Because I wrote stories for him in the Nordic Police Chronicle, which came out every year. And I got all the material from the investigation. And among the documents, it was an envelope with, I could feel it was a tape in it, recorded tape. And in the front of the envelope, it was written, "This envelope can only be opened by permission of the chief of the secret police." And I understand that NRK, the Norwegian Broadcasting, has got all the documents as well, but the tape wasn't there.
That's right.
Why
No
has
tape.
this tape disappeared?
What did you do with the tape and the material?
I did nothing. I just felt on the envelope because I couldn't open it. The Chief Commissioner trusted me. I got all the documents, and of course I couldn't open it. I regret it today because I could use methods to open and lock but I didn't do that because the police trusted me. Otherwise I would be kicked out of the police headquarters and lost all my sources.
What do you think it could have had on it?
I think it was a tape from a phone conversation, phone call.
Back to the Isdal woman herself. One of the most interesting clues she left behind was her handwriting. Remember, that was key evidence in 1970 for the police in matching her different identities on the hotel registration cards.
Yes, but handwriting analysis has come on a long way since then. There is an expert at Kripos who has attempted to see whether the handwriting can reveal a new direction for us. Her name is Gunhild Isager.
This does not look Norwegian to me.
So different countries do have recognizable handwriting?
Different copybook models, yes, in schools.
Copybook models. You mean when they're teaching children how to write, they follow certain characteristics?
Yeah, that's right. So we contacted Germany, we contacted Slovenia, we contacted Belgium, Switzerland, because it was suggested to us, both from Switzerland and Germany, that they suspected France and a French way of writing. And we contacted 2 laboratories, and independent of each other, they said, yes, we recognize these features. This is according to older French norm.
This is a sort of old-fashioned kind of French handwriting.
Yeah, and one of them, he sent us some old French letters. There isn't a lot to go on here. So this is the T, you see that they connect it, and then they write a bar across the stem of the T.
Yeah.
N. He also mentioned the way of signing. You can see this is from the letter. They write diagonally and draw the line underneath.
I wonder whether signatures are the biggest giveaways.
No, I would have said the T. I know it's just one letter, but it's not common. And handwriting examiners around Europe, they've said, no, this is not from our norm.
So the French laboratories, they confirmed we know this type of writing.
Yes. I would say it's not conclusive in any way, but France is the nearest we've got so far.
Belgium is half Francophone, half Flemish. Could it be that she was from the French-influenced part of Belgium?
Of course.
Because she's signed in as a Belgian more than any other nationality,
Yes,
isn't she?
I quite agree.
This really is a significant development, because when we were looking at the hotel registration forms, you, as a fluent German speaker, could tell that she made mistakes in her written German. And now the handwriting experts are pretty sure that she learned to write in a French-speaking country when she was younger.
The isotope tests on her teeth told us 2 things: that she probably started her life in southeastern Germany, Nuremberg area, but by her teenage years she had moved direction west, and there were a few possible places.
And this new information makes the hotspot on the German-French border particularly interesting for us. And by the way, all crucial documents, including the hotel registration cards, where you can look out for the giveaway letter T, are on the Death in Ice Valley website and on Facebook.
Hello, Neil.
Hi, Marit. Hi. How are things?
Well, things are pretty okay. I've been to the exciting moment of truth by headquarters of Kripos this morning to find out the results of the Karolinska examinations, to find out how old was our woman.
Yeah, and we're hoping to get quite close to the truth with this one, quite specific. So I'm quite excited to know what kind of results you got back.
Well, there are some pretty interesting results. Well, let's go through it. The carbon-14 method, which is the method where they had the greatest expectations. So the thing is, first result, she had, let's call it a normal base level of carbon-14 in all the 3 examined teeth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the first result. So then came this other method in use, and they were quite satisfied with their examinations. It's a quite technical method, difficult to understand. But this other method was successful. They also used 3 teeth, and 2 of the teeth made the exact same result.
Right.
Be prepared now, saying this woman was 45 years old when she died.
45?
Yes. So this is a woman born around 1930, but most likely born in the 20s.
How interesting. She's much older than we'd always imagined. This changes the whole picture. She's a lot older than we thought she was. She's a lot older than she said she was. So what was she doing pretending to be younger? It's such a strange thing to be doing.
It's so hard to understand this. I actually really got a shock when I got those results, because she's kept on saying or having identities showing that she was born between 42 and 45. And why did she do that if she was actually born 1930 or even earlier?
I don't know. Have you got any theories?
Well, I keep on thinking of it, and I think, okay, we know from our interviewees like Iver Neumann saying, well, there were only 3 possible tasks for this woman. Either she was a prostitute, or she was some kind of agent, spy, or she was some kind of businesswoman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're a businesswoman traveling, why do you have to lie on your age, pretend that you are 15, maybe 20 years younger? As an agent, does that make sense? Does it make sense to you that you have to pretend that you're younger?
No, it doesn't make sense to me.
I'm sorry. I know I have said many times I don't think she was a prostitute. But this, I keep thinking on this, and as a woman, I can find only one reason for making yourself younger than you are on the paper, and that is to make yourself more attractive. Isn't it? Think of it.
Well, yeah, you would want to look younger, but you wouldn't really need paperwork to prove that, because prostitution was illegal and informal, and you wouldn't be presenting your passport, I wouldn't assume. And why would you have all these different passports with different names and all with a similar date of birth?
That's so true. So it doesn't make sense, because okay, you want to make yourself more attractive, to pretend you're younger than you are, you need a paper on that. But then what with all those fake identities? Why do you need them if you are some kind of sex worker or... I don't get it.
Another possible answer could be that she wanted to show that she was around the age of 30 because perhaps it raised less questions about a single woman travelling alone. If she was 45, perhaps there'd be an expectation that she'd be married, or she had to put those details down in hotel registration forms or wherever she was being asked, whereas saying she was a 30-year-old travelling alone, it was going to raise less questions.
The society was different back in 1970. Maybe it wasn't that common that a mature woman with 45 was traveling alone.
Yet again, the Isdal woman surprises us, this time with her age. It's again, there's this riddle within a riddle. She was very good at covering her tracks. I mean, it's only now, after all these years, that her true age, has finally come out. So rather than being born during the Second World War, she was probably born in the late 1920s. And if she was born in the Nuremberg area, as the isotope results suggest, then that points to a unique period in history.
Join us next week when we go from the end of her life to search for her origins in the city chosen by Adolf Hitler as the cradle of his Nazi philosophy.
Dass uns dies nicht gleichgültig ist.